Dear students and parents, a big hello to this moment in space-time. Here and now, we'll be understanding what it takes to score very good marks in a competitive entrance exam. We will understand the role of tests and extreme amount of full syllabus test practice. Mind you, here we have mentioned the words full syllabus test practice. All these words are very important. Full syllabus refers to solving the exam paper for the entire syllabus and not solving it for part of the syllabus or one chapter at a time, etc. Full syllabus test practice is what is going to elevate the marks of the student. The more the number of full syllabus tests we together practice, the more is the chance and the probability that the student will be able to perform to their best possible potential. Hence, here and now, we are going to emphasize and understand the importance of full syllabus test practice. Let us understand what happens with the human brain while we are trying to learn a skill. Initially, it's difficult. Let's go back to the time wherein we all must have learned to ride a bicycle or learn to drive a car, or we must have learned to swim. Initially, it's new, challenging and difficult. So in the initial process, it is very important that the student and the learner gets support from parents as well as the professors who are teaching the students. Once this initial hurdle is overcome, then the learning process becomes interesting and challenging. And when this happens, the students are motivated to learn on their own. We have to catapult the student into a process wherein the students are highly motivated, very interested in the subject, have started liking the subject, and hence are able to learn on their own. So initially, the role that a teacher plays in the students' creation of interest and increasing the level of understanding and affection towards the subject is very important. In order to understand the importance of test practice, we need to understand the academic process and in general the learning process that happens when a student is trying to learn something new. After the initial introduction and understanding and development of affection towards the subject, extensive amount of problem practice is required if we are to achieve very good scores in competitive entrance exams. The more the number of problems the students practice, the easier it is going to be for them to be able to familiarize themselves with the various types of problems and thus be able to solve them as fast as they can. Hence, problem practice is an essential component in trying to develop expertise. After practicing the problems, the students should get the doubts clarified from the professors. For this, we recommend that the student maintains a repository in either PDF format or in a doc or in a folder of all the images of the questions that are the prime doubts or the important doubts that the student has realized they were not able to solve. As the student is solving any problem set, the student will realize that there are only 3 types of reasons because of which the problem that was solved incorrectly or was left unattempted was left so. The first reason is conceptual lack of understanding or lack of conceptual clarity regarding a particular chapter, topic or a subtopic. So when we say that conceptual clarity is lacking, what do we mean? Lacking conceptual clarity essentially means that the student has either not understood the concept very well, or has forgotten the concept, or the concept did not come to the forefront of the mind. So application of the concept during the solving of the question is what was lacking and what was missed. These types of shortcomings we term as conceptual shortcomings or conceptual mistakes or conceptual errors. The second and very important category of shortcomings is practice-based shortcomings. In practice-based shortcomings, the student might have known the concept, might have also understood that these particular question sets or this particular question requires that particular concept to be used, and might have also started applying that concept for that particular question. But somewhere the execution was missed out. So either the student could not solve the equations, or since practice was lacking, the student was not able to get the correct answer in requisite amount of time, or the student did not remember a subtle formula or a hint that was required to solve the question efficiently, and hence the student was losing time efficiency in trying to solve the question at that point in time. All these execution-based mistakes we term under the category of practice-based mistakes, wherein the student might not have executed the solution of a particular problem correctly, or might have forgotten the formula or the memorization part of the question wherein they needed to remember what was to be solved, or they could have simply not gotten enough time to solve that particular type of question. The third type of shortcoming is the silly mistake type of shortcoming. So herein the student also knew the concept, also had practiced a lot of questions of that particular concept and was able to apply the concept well, but then the student committed a silly mistake. For instance, some calculation error, or the student might have gotten the correct answer but represented the answer wrong while submitting the answer in the OMR sheet or the online exam. So by mistake ticked off the wrong option or entered a few wrong decimal digits, etc. This kind of silly mistakes happen because there was a lapse in concentration during the process of solving the question. Such a lapse in concentration occurs because of being stressed out, being tense, not feeling free, and being constrained in your own mind and brain during the process of the exam. Or some student might be just in a hurry. Being in a hurry also results in the feeling of stress that students usually encounter. Or the student might have not completed their sleep cycle, or might not be taking good, healthy, nutritious food. So diet and sleep cycle also plays a big role in the hormonal cycles of the body, because of which there might be a lapse in concentration. Now, we have to understand the types of mistakes that the student is committing or making. Let us say the students are making conceptual mistakes over and over again in certain particular chapters, topics, or subtopics. In that case, it is very clear that the concept needs to be revised and revisited again. If the student has not understood the concept, it is important that the student understands the concept via revision or clarification from video lectures or from the professors. If the student is committing practice-based mistakes again and again, then it is important that those particular topics and chapters wherein the student is committing practice-based mistakes are revisited again. And we conduct extensive practice sessions of the student, and the student themselves also takes the onus of practicing extensively. We generally recommend that you should solve as many questions as are going to appear in your entrance exams on a daily basis. Let us say you are preparing for a competitive entrance exam in which 180 questions are going to appear in your exam paper. So we recommend that you solve 180 questions on a daily basis. We find that students who do that definitely reach and achieve their highest possible potential. Let us say your exam is going to have 75 questions or 90 questions in 3 hours. Then we recommend that you should solve 75 or 90 questions on a daily basis. Initially, you may not time yourself, but later it is also recommended that you time the 90 questions or 75 questions that you are going to solve by putting in a timer of 3 hours. So, what we recommend is, whatever it be your exam, the number of questions that you are going to solve in the exam in 3 hours, or whatever be the time duration, let's say capital T for that exam, the same amount of numerical problems, objective MCQs of the same type and the difficulty level that is going to appear in the entrance exam should be solved by you on a daily basis. Initially, as you are learning, it may not be timed, but later, when you are practicing again and again, it should be timed to match the exact time of your exam. This is how you extensively increase your practice. As you are practicing more and more numericals, it is going to so happen that you will find that some of the numericals you cannot do because you either lack practice or you did not know how to apply the concept there. We encourage you to mark such numericals as doubts and have a compendium or a compilation, or these days like just images inside a folder that represent these particular types of doubts. Once you have this compendium with you, it is your duty to convey it to us, the academic team at Paathshala Education, and we will take it upon ourselves and our professors that all of your doubts are clarified in a timely and efficient manner. The video solutions that you will thus get after clarifying the doubts in a live, personalized manner are extremely precious and important. Different students, we find, have gotten different doubts in the same concept. That is because the gap of understanding that was pertinent and relevant for different students was different. So we cannot predict beforehand what doubts are going to arise for you as a student. That is why we have individualized focus and personalized attention, and that is why we also say again and again that personal attention is very required in order to crack any particular entrance exam with flying colors to the best of your potential and ability. We are talking about practice-based mistakes. Practice-based mistakes happen because you have not maintained a compendium of your doubts and have not been responsible enough to clarify those doubts in a timely manner. If you just avoid this and if you just maintain your doubts compendium, in that case, practice-based mistakes can be eliminated to a large extent. Let's come to the next type of mistakes, silly mistakes. Now, while you solve either in your home or in a library or in a study room or in a study environment, you are more comfortable than generally in an exam hall. In an exam situation, the students are relatively more stressed out. We would recommend the psychological trick of thinking that this is just a practice session only and we are anyway going to get hundreds and thousands of attempts at this particular exam. Even though that may not be true, thinking like this enables our minds to just be happy-go-lucky and cherish the present moment rather than feeling stressed about it. So in order to achieve peak performance, your state of mind should be happy-go-lucky, merry, and you should feel like a go-getter. Like you should have that killer instinct like surging up inside you. Rather than feeling depressed, sad, anxious, embarrassed, worried. So when you are in this playful, happy-go-lucky state of mind, it is then that you are going to perform the best. In order to avoid silly mistakes, this happy-go-lucky and playful state of mind is what is very relevant and important. Another important factor in avoiding silly mistakes is to be present in the moment. Meaning, one should not think about something else, like for instance, what would be that particular TV show or what's happening in that movie or what I'm going to do after the exam is over, or where would be the next family vacation being planned, or what are the global problems of the world, or what are my own anxiety and stress levels. Anything that is not to do with the question and the exam paper should be eliminated as a thought process or a mental process while trying to perform to the optimum possible potential in any entrance exam. In order to avoid silly mistakes, it is important to be present to the moment. Such practices are going to enable us to minimize the silly mistakes and maximize the score vis-a-vis the true potential that we behold. Let us say we are already practicing these things. Then silly mistakes might still happen because we have not slept enough, we have not had good nutritious food, healthy water, or it might be a silly reason like we feel the urge to go to the toilet during the exam. It is recommended that all these reasons are eliminated via logical means and precautions that can be taken before the exam. We also recommend that 1 or 2 days before the exam, you should not learn something new and you should be as relaxed and stress-free as possible. Last-minute revision and cramming is not going to help very much in competitive entrance exams wherein conceptual clarity and applications are being tested and not just rote memorization. Again, revisiting what we learned here and now, we have to understand the types of shortcomings that are happening while the students are solving either a question bank for practice or the literal exam. A. Conceptual shortcoming. B. Practice or execution based shortcoming. And C. Silly mistakes. We have told you the ways in which you can avoid and overcome all of these shortcomings in order to achieve higher marks and better scores in competitive entrance exams and feel good about yourselves also while solving questions related to practicing for a competitive entrance exam while you are preparing. We at Paathshala have a methodology in which the student has to submit something called as a test analysis report, wherein we have to analyze after every test what are the types of mistakes that are being made by the student and include all those types of mistakes and the improvement suggestions that the students can come up with themselves after the test is over. So let us say if the student attempts a 3-hour test, this analysis and filling up of the report is going to take at least 1 more hour. As you become more and more expert in this process, it might take half an hour. But this time, even though we are investing more time in trying to understand what happened in that particular test paper, this particular time is very, very vital and precious because what are we doing essentially? We are generating the data that is required for us to be able to understand where exactly is our shortcoming. Also, students and parents are not used to the fact that in entrance exams, it is very customary and very, very common to get 10, 15, 20% of the marks when the full syllabus tests just start. Sometimes the student may get 30-40% of the marks when the full syllabus starts. It is in the process of full syllabus test practice that the maximum increase in the number of marks and the percentage scored by the student is going to take place. So let us say if the true potential, the maximal potential of the student is to score 90% marks out of 100%. During the first full syllabus test, if the student barely scores 5 or 10% of the marks, it is more than enough. Let us take away the burden of outcomes or the burden of scoring well initially. Let us just get rid of that particular burden. It is going to set us back psychologically and it is going to add more stress and anxiety to the process, which otherwise can be very enjoyable. If by the 100th or the 200th or the 300th or the 500th full syllabus test, if by that time the student has not significantly improved from their own first test score or the initial scores that they were achieving, then it is that this is a point for concern and worry. The methodology of increasing the score via using full syllabus tests is as follows. When we start giving the full syllabus test, let us say we are achieving a score of 5%. Then we have to sit back after the full syllabus test and analyze what type of mistakes we as students and learners have made. If the parents are educated and knowledgeable enough, they can help the students in understanding and analyzing the types of mistakes that they have committed. So the graph of the increase of score is like an exponentially increasing function that reaches an asymptotic peak, which can be said to be the peak potential of the student. So from the starting point, it essentially asymptotically increases. Sometimes it linearly increases. Sometimes it exponentially increases, but it asymptotically reaches the peak potential of the student. Usually when the peak potential is hit, the most common reasons are because the student was not able to complete the paper in time or fell short of the time it takes to complete the paper in a manner in which they feel satisfied that they were able to attempt each and every question with enough amount of time. So time is the limiting factor in trying to achieve maximum marks, in trying to be the global topper of your competitive entrance exam. Another limiting factor is the inherent capability of the student, which has been developed from the time the student was born. But then again, that capability can always be enhanced. So when the student reaches the peak optimal potential and is able to solve all the questions as practiced enough, we find that for most competitive entrance exams, the student was able to solve each and every question correctly if instead of giving 3 hours, he or she was to be given 4, 5, 6, 7 hours for that particular paper. So ultimately, what we find is, in order to go ahead of the barrier of time, higher order thinking questions need to be solved by the student and more practice, time-based practice is required. Ultimately, the lack of intellectual potential of any particular candidate is reflected as a time-based parameter, while understanding why the student was not able to score the maximum marks, the marks that a topper scores. It is reflected in the time that the candidate takes to complete the paper whole and soul by attempting each and every single question. Now, this concept of time is also very important and it relates back to the preparatory time. If you feel that the student is hitting their intellectual ceiling, then comes in the concept of neural fortitude. What is it that you are aiming for as a student and as the parent or the guardian of the student? It is this point which reaches the climax of your preparation, this point in space-time, wherein you will be either pushing against your own maximal potential and possibilities, or you will achieve a plateau and a flat line and will stop to improve and grow. It is at this point in time that your strength of character and neural fortitude will be tested. So the choice is yours, to give up or to try to fight more and more. To achieve the initial 20-30% marks, if it takes X amount of effort, to achieve the next 20-30% marks, it takes 2x amount of effort. To achieve the next 10% of marks, it takes 3x amount of effort. To achieve the next 5% marks, it would take 4x amount of effort. And to achieve the last 5% of marks, it would take 10x amount of effort. So as you reach the topper score or the best possible score to be achieved in that entrance exam, the amount of effort you are going to require and expound is going to grow disproportionately. And thus, this is where you decide whether you are satisfied with the scores that you have achieved at this point in time and just want to maintain the scores, or you want to accelerate further and try to achieve the best score that any human being can in that particular entrance exam. For more analysis and more such factoids, stay tuned to Paathshala Education and connect with us. As always, we wish you the brightest and the happiest of futures and the most prosperous academic success. And while achieving so, we wish that you travel with light speed.